So let's have a look at some programming examples of assignments and expressions. Earlier on in this session we saw some simple examples of assignments, such as just assigning values to variables. We can assign string literals, as in hello there, as a string literal there, to a variable. We call str text. Remember that in JustBasic it's the $sign after the variable name that tells the JustBasic environment that it's in fact a string variable. So if we have a look at some more complicated ones, first of all we'll have a look at some assignments via expressions. So in this example we are using or creating a new variable called SNGZ, so we're referring to it as a single just for our own reference, and it is equal to the value of whatever's in int x multiplied by the value of whatever's in SNGY, and then we're just going to print that out to the screen. So whenever we're going to test programs, we need to know what the output is going to be ourselves to be able to work out whether or not the program has actually worked as we want it to. So this calculation is going to be 10 multiplied by 1.5, so the answer should be 15. So if we run the program, we can see that the answer is in fact 15. I'll just make that window smaller. So, okay, so that worked as expected. Next, I mentioned in the previous session that we could also use functions. So functions are predefined bits of code that do a very specific job for us, and we'll cover functions in more detail later in the module. Most programming languages have vast libraries of functions. JustBasic doesn't have a vast library, but it does have a library of functions, and in there are some mathematical functions. So this is a function called SQR, which is square root. So what we can do is we can calculate the square root of, in this case, 2, and assign the result of that function to our variable SNGZ. So we can print this out. Note on this print statement here I've got a semicolon at the end of the print statement. What that does is stop the next print statement from printing on a new line. So the resulting output is appended, so that's the answer, 1.4414 is appended to the previous line of output, so we can concatenate strings together on the output stream, which is quite useful. So we can see there that the square root of 2 is in fact 1.41, which obviously we know the answer is correct. We can also use functions and pass across values that are stored in variables. So here we're using the square root function again, but this time we're passing across the value that is currently stored in int x, which, as we know from above, is the value 10. So this time the square root is going to be the square root of 10, not the square root of 2. So we can run that, and we can now see that the square root of 10 is in fact 3.16. Note that int x is an integer value, and the square root function is not forcing the value to be an integer, it's actually allowing the value to be a single. Now that's handled in JustBasic because JustBasic is an interpreted language, and it can do these things on the fly. If you're using a language such as C or Java, or even using strict typing in a language like Visual Basic, then you need to take more care with your assignments, because what you might do is actually inadvertently convert single values, for example, to integer values, and maybe lose some very important information. The final little example I'll show you here is to do some simple calculations and take into account precedence, i.e. the order in which we want the processing to take place. So let's create 3 variables, SNGX, SNGZ and SNGW, assign them the values 2, 3 and 4, and then we'll do a little calculation. So SNGY is equal to, note the brackets, SNGX plus SNGZ, close brackets, multiplied by SNGW. So we're forcing the computer to do this addition first, and then it'll be followed by that multiplication. So X and Z are 2 and 3, so that answer is going to yield 5. 2 plus 3 is 5, multiplied by 4 should give the answer 20. So S and G wines should be assigned the value 20. In the second calculation, we are not forcing precedence, we are allowing the computer to work out what the precedence is itself. So here what will happen is that the multiplication will take precedence over the addition. So what we'll in fact have is SNGZ, which is 3, multiplied by SNGW, which is 4, so that gives the answer 12. 3 multiplied by 4 is 12, plus 2, so that will actually yield the answer 14. So exactly the same variables, in exactly the same order, just with the precedence of the calculation altered, can yield separate values. So just to show you that that statement there is outputting the same as the one above. So if I now run that program, we can now see that those two final bits of code give different answers. The answer when forcing the precedence is 20, and the answer when using the default precedence is 14, as we expected. So what would be sensible for you to do is to have a go at writing these programs for yourself, so you could follow this video and hopefully view the code and type it in yourself. Obviously you can't cut and paste from it because this is the video, so you'll have to type it in. So there you go. I'll show you that at the top, and then gradually scroll down so you can then see the examples at the bottom. So have fun typing those examples in, and then once you've typed those examples in and hopefully got them working in JustBasic, then you can move on and do the practical session for this lesson.